Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Join our hosts, Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy Nissen, as well as the Jira Amigos in the Peanut Gallery, as we sit down and discuss the latest going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life, the Jira Life chose us.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Alex sounds tired. How's moving going, man?
I would never want this for anyone ever. I don't know how people move. It's just so hard.
Again, I grew up Army, so it's just kind of a fact of life. Every 2 to 3 years, you're going to move.
It's a different mindset. Like, you can't collect as many things as you go.
I only moved when I got married and then once since I've been married, so I'm pretty lucky, I guess.
Yeah, no, I have learned very significant, though. I can live off of 5% of what's in my house. Because I've been doing it for like the last 2 weeks. So the other 95%, you don't need everything in life. It's almost like your backlog, right?
I mean, good analogy there.
You only need 5% of that backlog, folks. It always blows my mind when people hit the 5,000 issue limit in a backlog. I'm like, how do you need so many issues?
You don't. And you should be cleaning it up regularly. I think I said it in my post this week. Cleanup is a regular activity, not a one-time thing.
All right, so who's our special guest here? Let's introduce him to the audience.
So we have the other community leader, Andy, quote-unquote online Andy Gladstone with us today from Fidelity Payment Services. Andy, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Hey, welcome, everybody. Nice to see you. Great to be on the pod. I am a avid listener. So, long-time listener, first-time caller, I guess you would say. I've been one of the original Jira Amigos. I've been in the Peanut Gallery, usually on my commute home every day, every Thursday. Get to catch it between switching trains and stay on for the next 45 minutes or so and catch up with everything in the Atlassian ecosystem. As Rodney said, Andy Gladstone is my name. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Fidelity Payment Services. We're a financial technology company that specializes in the payment space. And I am a community leader in the online community. Now, just had my 2-year anniversary as a community leader this past week. And it's been game-changing for me. And the other Andy, because Andy Barker, Funman Andy, who became Events Andy, decided, I believe, on this podcast to refer to me as Online Andy, and it stuck. So I've become Online Andy.
This is where people get their names.
That's it.
This is the place to be.
I've been working since Team 23 to get more community leaders to have nicknames, and it is slowly catching on. So I'm happy that you have a nickname.
We all need our call signs. I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Although we should make it official that if you need your call sign, you got to come onto the Jira Life to receive it. That should be part of our interview series here.
It should be.
Well, thank you, Andy, for taking time out of your super busy, and thank you for being stable today and not being in a movable object while being on this show with us. Really, really appreciate it. I don't know if it's one way or if it's you owe me or I owe you, but you still need to be on my YouTube channel from last time. I haven't forgotten about it.
Man has a point.
I asked Andy, like, hey, Andy, you should be on my interview series that I was doing with the community leaders. And he's like, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, I don't know, Confluence.
We'll get it done. We did have an in-person meetup, so we could have done.
We did. We should have just live streamed that thing.
On the Oceanside Pier a couple weeks ago. Well, more than a couple weeks ago at this point. Mid-November when we met up in Oceanside, California, right?
Yeah,
and it should go down in the history books. That's probably gonna be my first and last time that I've met up with somebody at the Oceanside Pier, and I probably won't be back to the Oceanside Pier in a very long time because I'm moving to the desert. All right, so action-packed episode again today, folks. Let's just get started into it. Thank you to everybody who's joining in here. Let's see. Special thanks to Matt here. Atlassian Andy is you, Andy?
That's
Or
me.
It
the other
is.
That's you, okay. Aaron's joining us. Aaron, good to see you here. I don't see it in the chat here, but I'm told that our wives are in the chat or in in the.
I mean,
the
Alex, I
stream.
see your wife there, so
My wife's here, and other Andys should be on. Where's your wife at? Where's she?
My wife has sent me a picture of the family in the kitchen watching on the iPad. So this is like life imitating art or art imitating life. I'm not sure which one, but she's on.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Yeah, appreciate it. So, do we got a question? What's the last song that got stuck in your head? Bonus points if you share the lyrics. What's going on in your head, Andy? What keeps you? What tunes do you listen to in that train when it's not a Thursday?
So it's not actually a train song. It's a song that got stuck in my head because last week, one of the things that I do in the online community is I curate the miscellaneous Monday posts, and I did a post about maps because I love maps. My children love poring over an atlas. We just got the newest atlas that came, I guess, last weekend, and my kids can always be found on the couch with their nose in the atlas, looking at different parts of the world. And I was looking for, like, I don't know, a lyric or something to put in, and I just Googled, songs with maps, and Maps by Maroon 5, a band I've never listened to before in my life, popped up, and I have got the lyrics stuck in my head. Just, the map that leads to you, the map that leads. I'm like, get it out of my head. I didn't even use it in the article, but just listening to it once, it just got stuck in there, and I can't get it out.
What about you, Mr. Rodney?
So I spent the afternoon while I was working listening to some new music to try and find something for a official Jira Life outro. And I found a song, I believe it's called Fractals. I have it up here somewhere. Actually, I have it right here. Let me check. Yeah, Fractals by Atrium. And that has been stuck in my head since I found it. I'm like, I don't care who I have to convince. This is going to be our closing song.
Nice. All right. And Bob over here in the Peanut Gallery, he's got the Taylor Swift song. Any specific one or all of them? I think he just has the whole playlist.
Well, the one about cheerleaders and football. I mean, that's specific, isn't it?
It's appropriate. Let me hold up. I need to move the microphone. There we go. I had a microphone that's covering the bottom of the comments. That and the Jira intro song, the Jira Life intro song. That is a good, catchy song. I like the one you picked. For me,
that is Cheat Codes by Nitro Fun. If you guys are looking it up, it is in the description now.
Is that open source, or you guys are paying royalties for every time you publish?
We don't pay royalties. It's a subscription I pay. But yeah, we have to get a license, so it's not an open song, but it can be found out there. I know it is on Spotify because it's on Spotify now. It's definitely on my playlist.
And I've been on the Hamilton soundtrack all day today, so.
Alex, what are we talking about today?
Well, we got some news. We got some interesting news that we're going to be chatting. A couple of CVEs or a CVE, but it's CVE season. And I love how the CVEs come as we're getting closer to the end of this server end of life.
I swear it's a plan.
I know. I get so excited every time I see a CVE, and then I see the calendar, and then I see the deadline. It's amazing. I'm telling you, the more CVEs that come out, the more right I'm going to be with my 2024 predictions. We're going to be talking about Confluence databases, an outage in the cloud. Were you impacted? And we'll do an app of the week, and then we'll do the ACE event of the week, and then we'll jump in and have a fun little chat with Andy. Get to know Andy a little bit better. So let's before we jump into all this, we want to just take a second here. Make sure you subscribe to the Jira Lab if you haven't subscribed already. We are well over our goal of 500, but now we got another harder goal, which is 1,000. So help us get there. We need 493 more to go.
Last year, Atlassian announced that they have 250,000 customers, and that was at Team 23. Yeah. We know there's more than 1,000 Jira admins out there that need the Jira Life.
Absolutely. And so I think we have a goal. We launched Memorial Day weekend, so I think we got the goal to hit. We got 5 months to get there. So share this podcast with everybody you know. And if you're listening, watching, and you haven't hit the subscribe button, now's a great time to hit that subscribe button. All right. Why don't we kick off CVEs? I know you like talking about CVEs, Ronnie. So why don't you take the first one?
Yeah, this one, again, this one, its timing is suspicious just because it is a nasty little bugger.
So for
this
the
is
audio version
another-
only, for the audio FAQ for CVE 2023-22527.
Yep. This one is a downstream one. I think it's one that was brought in through a dependency that it has, but it does impact Confluence server and data center, and it is a remote code execution vulnerability, which means
My favorite
it
type.
allows someone to run whatever code they want, which means you're owned. If they execute this, you are owned.
I'm not surprised at what you need to. I'm surprised at what you need to do didn't start out with migrate to cloud.
I'm a little surprised at that too. But I mean, I think they needed a more immediate solution because we all know, even for Confluence, cloud migration is not trivial.
Nope.
Yep. And just wait, Andy. Wait until any CVE after February, whatever date it is now, it changes.
Again, we know
moves to the cloud.
server is not getting any more support, but it still shares a lot of code with data center, which means any vulnerability they release for data center, a hacker is immediately going to test against server. And it's probably going to work.
It most likely will work. That is such an interesting... I keep saying this. It's a very interesting position that Atlassian's trying to get themselves into here, because what are they going to do if it's a shared code base and they're patching one but not the other? Like, I just don't see that sitting well. I think they almost have to pull like a band and just completely turn off the lights on server. Otherwise, it's a liability.
I kind of wish they'd open source it. I know they won't because, again, a significant portion of the code is shared with data center, but it feels like the most responsible thing to do from a security perspective would be to open source it.
Let the people fix themselves.
Yeah.
So in the past, when the CVEs come out, we talk about the criticality. What's this one at? Because this one's telling me you must. You must.
This one I don't remember off the top of my head. It's been a couple days since I looked at this, and I had a very busy morning that's pushed everything out. But this one is a 10. The scale tops at 10.
Do it. This is not the joke one. Yeah, this one's interesting. So I helped manage one of the data center versions of Confluence and Jira, and I got an email a couple of days ago when I never get. I mean, all the CVs that we've covered in the Jira life over the last 6 months, I never get an email from that team, and I'm always having to email that team and tell them like, "Hey, get your stuff patched out because it just came out. We just broke the news here." But I was pleasantly surprised to log in at like 5 a.m. the other day, and I got an email saying, "This one's already been patched. You don't even need to tell us." So hopefully people are on it. And yeah, Aaron sent this one over, and so thank you, Aaron, for the shout out. And Sean just joined us also. Hello, Sean. Hopefully you don't got data center problems, but a new CVE is out. So folks, again, if you're watching in typical CVE fashion, don't mess around with these, especially this one. Go get your systems patched.
Yesterday.
It's a pain in the butt, and as online Andy says, go to cloud. Simple, right?
I mean, all the new features are in cloud anyways.
Yeah. Speaking of new features, Confluence databases has been plastered all over Confluence if you've been logging in as of late. And if you're an admin, I don't know if this gets displayed to regular users, but if you're a Confluence admin, site admin, org admin, you were probably greeted with a message from Atlassian this week telling you it's time to enable the beta for databases. Now, this is one of the features that was highlighted on the keynote at Team 23. I'm very, very excited to try this out. But just looking at the documentation, I got scared. There's so much happening. There's a lot to this one. So I don't think that this is a novice skill or feature here. But what do you guys think?
So I have a hot take on the documentation, Alex, which is that you have to remember this was purchased by Atlassian from K15T. So this was already Confluence databases,
was a thing.
already a thing that were in existence and had been developed by third-party app developer from the marketplace that they went out and purchased, because why build it when you can buy it better? Anybody that I know that they've definitely broken it down, refactored it, and reproduced it, so it's not exactly the same as it was before. But K15T has some amazing training materials online. Just go to their YouTube site, or look at their TikToks even, and you could get the gist of databases and exactly how it's supposed to work from them. It's not going to be exactly the same, but when I looked at the Atlassian documentation versus the K15T documentation, I went straight back to the K15T documentation.
I think a similar thing happened when automation rules came out. Like Atlassian documentation was like not there, but was it Code Barrel or whoever they purchased it from? Like their documentation was on point. They still knew. So I was looking at their stuff for a while.
Alex, I know you're in much the same boat I am, that we make a pretty penny off doing documentation better than Atlassian.
That is very true. So guess what I'm going to be focusing on my videos for the next couple months. Expect a lot of Confluence documentation videos. I'm just one of the so I was very excited, and one of my reasons why I'm so excited for Confluence database is because I did a comparison over the summer where I looked at Notion versus Confluence, and this functionality was clearly missing that Notion has, right, where you can build these dynamic pages with these databases. And I still remember seeing it on stage, and I think it's a really cool feature. Again, not something that maybe entry level, first day on the job using Confluence for the first time type of person is going to use, but the amount of creative power that this is going to enable you to basically take your documentation to like the next level, very, very excited for.
Can I tell you one thing that I don't like about it right now is that they put it together in the create modal with pages, whiteboards, and blogs. And I really don't see that many people creating databases on a daily basis that it should be there. It should be its own button, or should be on the
like a macro, right?
Sidebar. As not even a macro. Like if you want to create a database, like a page, it's just going to host your database. That's fine. But every time I create a page now, I'm getting a dropdown that now has, instead of just originally click just the pages, plus, create a page. Now I'm being given a whiteboard, a page, a blog, and a database. I don't need to see all of that on the screen every time I do it. I can imagine most organizations are going to create a few databases and then leverage them in a lot of places and not be creating databases on a daily basis.
I think just another hot take here. I think this should be limited to space admins. I don't think just anyone should be able to create a database.
I'm just curious. Like, I think like it's a cool feature, but unlike whiteboards, right? Whiteboards is very intuitive. You just jump in and you just start dragging objects on there. Like, I think people are really gonna. I think this is probably one of the more complex features in Confluence. Like, I feel like every other feature, all the other macros are really intuitive, plug and play. But this one, you just can't like throw up a table. Like, you kind of have to think about it. And then I'm still kind of, I haven't had a chance to use it fully, but I'm really curious on like Jira integrations and how it all comes together. So it's definitely something I'm going to be exploring here. In the chat though, have you all enabled it? Who's been using it? Let us know. And while you guys are typing that, we got Atlassian is expanding by buying. That seems to be the right way to go. Especially if you're Apple, it bites you in the butt sometimes. Solving problems with money isn't the worst approach, says Sean. Robert's coming back at with, documentation tends to suffer once a product company has been bought by Atlassian. Holy moly, you guys want to talk about a challenging documentation? The data lake, the whole Atlassian Analytics. I tried to use that thing. I sat with Atlassian for like 3 hours trying to use that thing, and then holding my hand and telling me where to click, and I still couldn't figure it out.
Have you tried again since AI?
I have not. Did they fix it? Did it roll out to analytics yet?
I don't know.
I'll give it a go. I haven't had a chance to check. Sean Doyle says Atlassian or adding database to Confluence is great, but it reminds me of Lotus Notes. We're just lacking an email client. Full circle, Sean. The circle of life. We're coming right back to 98.
Sean, don't give Atlassian ideas, please.
Dude,
At least
Microsoft,
it's not a certification exam anymore.
Atlassian takes on Microsoft. The return of HipChat to kill Teams off.
I mean, I'll take HipChat. I do kind of miss it.
Andy, did you ever get a chance to use HipChat?
Oh yeah, so my previous company, we were on server, and so we had HipChat. We were using it from 2013 through the time I left in 2016. It solved the problem of persistent conversations, right? Instead of it being one-to-one on Microsoft Link, you could create the group, right? So the precursor to Slack in many ways that way. And I loved it, but that organization I was in was not very good at maintaining it. So there were like 1,000 different, groups that you could potentially post to, and navigating groups there was very difficult. Like once you had your group that you were going to be posting in, and maybe that was your team or like a cross-sectional team within the organization, it was great. But just trying to find those people and group them all together, that was a painful experience.
Painful. Yeah. Matt Doors got agreed. Needs to limit who creates databases. The hot take will be in a couple months when this comes out of beta, and then they announce pricing on it, and like free and standard are going to get like one database.
No, I don't think they're going to get any. I think it's going to be enterprise only.
You think so? No,
I think premium will get it. I think it'll be premium
will get
enterprise. I think standard won't, or they'll do what they do with whiteboards and give you 3 databases per user, or 3 databases total, whatever it might be. But I can't see taking something that people were not paying a huge premium for when it was a marketplace app and putting it only in enterprise, because then you've taken the power away from the people, right? If K15T was still selling it, you had a 150 person organization on premium, you're paying another $200, $400 a month for it, right? To make it only enterprise, and the cost of enterprise licensing versus premium, extremely prohibitive for many organizations.
I mean, yes, but also it's another thing to afford that upsell. And that's what Atlassian's, that's been what their MO has been for past years. How can we make the higher plans more attractive? Mm-hmm. I can't see it going to premium, but I do think enterprise is definitely on the list. Premium is a maybe.
And we got to have a little second to acknowledge this comment here. I've learned not to enable betas in production.
We love it. Our organization is the beta tester for Atlassian. Any EAP I can get into, it's on our system. We've even been included in white papers because of that, where we've spoken about the EAPs that we've participated in. So I'm not too afraid to break our Confluence cloud.
I have scars about being on the EAP for the parent link, epic name renewal stuff. It's still causing
that one was risky. That one was risky though.
It's still problematic. AHA can't talk to it. There's the automation rules are barely catching up. Oh, what a mess that one has been. Let's see who else we got. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, should we move on? Speaking of messes,
Atlassian got themselves into a bit of a mess today, or last night, or this morning, depending on the time zone you're on.
It was in the middle of the day EU time.
As much as we keep telling everybody move to the cloud, this is the one time where you don't want to be in the cloud.
Yeah, I was talking to someone on LinkedIn about this earlier today. I'm like, look, the one thing that absolutely scares me about cloud is, because it's cloud, I'm not responsible for fixing it when it goes down. That is the definition of being on cloud. That's someone else's job. But within my org, I'm still the one who has to answer for it being down, despite having no power to fix it.
Yeah. And this is one of those moments where I'm really sad, right? Like I do feel like these functionalities that are being introduced eventually trickle into your data center, because there's just going to be businesses that can't afford to go down like this.
No.
And it sucks, though. You don't get databases. You don't get whiteboards. You don't get a lot of the cooler things that are coming out. And Atlassian, this is fortunately, it's a once a year type of outage for Atlassian right now. But it's still not a trend that I hope, because I think as more and more people think of all the people that are expecting to onboard within the next few months, right? Just because
It's still better than 2022.
That was the best one though. On stage, I can imagine the CEOs walking on stage, checking an alert on their phone. We're down, and then to keep your composure.
They did a good job not addressing it in public.
Yeah.
Although in their true BSM fashion, I think they should have played like a pretty good joke on it, or rubbed it off as like, we're out. Sorry, we got to get off the stage to go fix our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so in case you're, hopefully you weren't impacted by this, but in case you didn't know, we were suffering a little bit of a problem today. Now, in the chat here, let us know if you were out or if you had an impact with this outage. But most importantly, Ronnie, let's teach the people, how do you find out if something's wrong with Jira? Like where should you go?
Status.Atlassian.com. They have a bunch of different flavors here, but this is Atlassian's status page, which again is their own product. They are, as one of my old CEOs used to say, drinking their own champagne. I did not feel that was the most relatable comment ever, but CEO's got a CEO.
I always say eat your own dog food, but apparently that one doesn't rub people the right way all the time.
It doesn't, and I get that, but replacing it with champagne just feels a little out of touch.
I will tell you a funny story. So about a month and a half ago, I got a ton of emails saying, hey, something's busted. We can't log into Jira. And the first place I come and look at is here, right? Because when you can't log into the cloud, and I haven't touched anything since I've been asleep, I'm going to go check Atlassian first, right? And this was all green. So next knee-jerk reaction after this is all green, and I know I didn't touch anything, is I open up a support ticket. And within the 7 to 10 minutes that I opened up the support ticket, then this thing caught up and got red. So it's funny that sometimes we're faster than this thing gets updated. So just as an FYI, refresh this page a couple of times before you start crying or calling out chicken, the sky is falling.
As someone who manages our status page internally, or one of the people that manages it, I will tell you it takes a lot of thought to hit that button and publish. How big is the outage? Sure, right? How much do I want people to go crazy? Is my support team ready for the calls? And sometimes it does. There is a little bit of decision paralysis with hitting that publish button.
I don't know what it is about Atlassian and those buttons, but for those of you who don't know, and I haven't done a public announcement about this yet, but I took the ACP 520 this morning. I did pass.
Womp, 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 womp.
No, that's on you, Alex. I think this is more appropriate.
I'll give you a hard time, man. Congrats.
Well, I mean, I want to celebrate you passing too, so please hurry up.
I have the date. I'm in the middle of a move.
You could have scheduled it before your move.
I could have, but I'm not done studying for it. I still don't even know what a DMARC is. I'm still gotta figure that one out.
But no, it's still, I mean, that was one of the easier ACPs I've taken. But that last moment when you're hitting that end test button, it's still very much a little bit of a panic attack every time.
Just YOLO, man. Just gotta go. Hit the buttons. We actually have a county in California called YOLO County. I thought that was so funny when I moved.
Is it your little corner of Florida in California?
No, it's like up in Northern California, but I can't believe we have a county called YOLO. Like if I was an entrepreneur and I was just gonna go bet it all on black, I'd go to YOLO County. You only live once, man. Hit those buttons. All right. What else we got? We got the app of the week. Oh man, we gotta speed it up. We're running out of time to talk to Mr. Andy here. The app of the week is brought to you by. I'm setting you up, Ronnie. Ready for you to bat these out.
We're talking about smart assignments and rotations in Jira. This is from our friends over at Trendle. Sajid from the Quiz Whiz actually reached out to me and Alex about this about 2 weeks ago. Alex, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of their newer apps. They're getting into the marketplace space, and what this does is pretty much what's on the tin. It allows you to auto-assign users to issues based off different schemes and mechanisms.
Very, very important, especially with the calendar integration, right? Because the biggest problem that I usually see is I see two big problems with auto assigns. One, they're on vacation or on leave of some sort, right? But the biggest one, and the one that usually tends to break Jira, is when you auto assign an issue to the project lead, but then your project lead is no longer an employee. And so then
Yeah,
you
you
can't even create
don't.
issues.
Yeah,
So
you don't do that, in my opinion. I know that's an option you can do. It's so prone to break. Anything that depends on a project admin, I just am very hesitant about.
and this is also made by our good friend Patrick, right? Who we took down
Yeah.
recently.
I will note. Yeah.
I was sorry, Patrick, but
I think Alex has a little news he's willing to share about that.
I may or may not
First
have
off, Andy, you may want to plug your ears if you don't want spoilers.
Unfortunately, I already saw it on LinkedIn this morning. So what can I do?
It wasn't me. I haven't posted anything. I haven't had time to go on the internet. Yeah, we took that. Look, I got one question worth 10 points. That I think was all I needed to contribute to the table. Dita, I love her to death. She's an amazing partner. I'm so glad that she reached out. It's been nothing but uphill with her. So I love my partner. So if it wasn't for my partner, though, I don't think we'd be this far.
So Sajid went ahead and rolled for the next round while we were in the kind of waiting area after the game. So Alex, who are you facing next round?
I'm going after the barbecue people and the coffee people.
Yeah, Alex is gunning to take down the Appfire team.
I'm not gunning to take down anybody at this point. I seriously want to forfeit. I don't want to continue this torture.
Which means he's automatically going to the finals.
I'm not going to the finals.
I'm still voting for barbecue and coffee because they're the ones that knocked my team out. I wasn't even supposed to be in this round, but I was a sub, and we made it through the first round into the Sweet 16, and it was barbecue and coffee that knocked us off our pedestal there, and they've got to run the table now, because whenever you lose to a team, you want to see them, like, if I'm going to lose them, they may as well win the crown, right? So.
But it's going to be hard to take the crown away from King Bob. Yeah, those two right here are just, they need a hobby along with Sajid.
I do have a hobby. I have plenty of hobbies. I'm doing one of them right now with you.
I know.
I think that Rodney is like sending a subliminal message with his shirt about which team he's going to be supporting.
No, it's a team I want to take down in the finals.
Oh.
So you want me to lose then?
That will be an epic battle.
I told you my ideal scenario is facing either your barbecue and coffee, your Ed in the semifinals, and then facing the other one in the finals.
Now
I was cheated out of that.
Tell me how much prep work I did for this last round. Versus the amount of prep
work. I'm going to assume the answer is between 1 and -1.
Yes, definitely. We need to put a link, and we got a link here and put it in the chat. Let's give it a trial and also leave a review. I think I've been talking to a lot of the app vendors over the last couple months, and these app reviews are very, very important. So, folks, if you're trying out these apps, one of the cool things you could do for members of the community here is definitely let the people know if you like the app, you don't like the app. One of the cool things that I like to do that I think I'm privileged to be able to do here is get first-hand look at the apps and then give them my opinion and make fixes before even it goes out to you all out there, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of the cool things one of my favorite things. I get to put on a little bit of a product hat on every once in a while and help make the products better. But I like to argue with them that I'm like, I spend 12 to 14 hours a day in Jira. If I can't figure it out, then what expectation do you have for somebody that's using Jira for the first time to figure it out? Right? Like I know
I
this
think
UI.
I've told that to someone before. In doing the app review, it's like, look, I can't figure it out. If I can't figure it out, there's a problem.
Yep. So, Mr. Andy, how would you like to segue over to our next segment, which is then now this last thing we'll talk about before we go talk about you?
So, are we going to talk about the ACE event of the week, or is that where we're headed? So, yeah, ACE events of the week. I mean, right now we've got Unleash in person, or Unleash, I'm sorry, World Tour going on. Unleash, which took place in December, is now coming to a city near you, 20 cities, which are being displayed beautifully on the screen right now. One of them being my hometown of New York City next Wednesday evening. So anybody who's in the New York area that can attend, if you haven't signed up, please go to ace.atlassian.com and make sure you sign up for the New York City Unleash event. I will tell you that Brittany Joyner of Trello fame, we made a pact that we would try to go to one remote ACE event per quarter this year. We met up in Reston, Virginia for an event she was doing that I co-presented at back in November. And then when this schedule was released, I decided, you know what? Toronto's right here on the Eastern Seaboard. I'm going. And I was there on Tuesday, and kudos to Susan Houth and to Danny Zaccaro and to Rob, the ACE event leaders there. They pulled off an amazing event, which was both enjoyable, informative, and left me with a lot of questions about, hey, how should we be approaching the way that we tackle our DevOps issues? So really great events that are being sponsored. I don't want to say sponsored, but being supported by the Atlassian themselves, or community-led conferences. So if you're not in one of these areas and you're close enough, hop on a train or a plane and get over there, because it's going to be amazing.
Very well put. And just from the chat, as you were explaining, we're all just complaining about how some of our cities are not represented. We're just not cool enough, Sean. We're not cool enough.
I don't see how they keep skipping over Atlanta.
How does Tulsa
I don't
get
see
anything? Like, there's nothing in Tulsa. Like, what?
Well, what's left? We've done Unleash. This is what's going on now. They did.
Don't turn this into a quiz whiz, man. Don't.
High Velocity Tour as well, and then Work Life is fully remote. So,
well, what's next is Team, no?
Right, Team 24. No comment.
No comment. Why don't you? Since you have the platform, why don't you tell the internet, set this record straight? What's going on with Team 24 and Andy?
So I'll be coming late because it coincides with the last days of Passover. So the first 2 days, Community Day, and day one, or pre-day one, Community Day, are the last 2 days of Passover. So Wednesday will be the first day I could get there. So I'm hoping to get there. I've been tracking flights. My wife was listening, and she's heard me talk about it, but we haven't made a decision on it yet. So yeah, but you know what? As the only Orthodox Jewish member of the community leadership, and like one of very few who you see walking around Team, I have no qualms about it. Like, there's no reason to schedule anything around my specific religious holidays. So happy.
The only benefit you get, though, is like if you were to leave like at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., like you can still get here at 7 a.m., 8 a.m.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
If anything, we'll have to like live stream the first events for you, so you can.
I can't even be on a live stream.
No. Like record. I meant like record.
Record it. Yeah.
Yeah, record them so you can catch up the
and
next
I'll binge. I'll binge it on the plane there.
Yeah, there you go. Actually,
that being said, we do have plans. Me and Alex, plans are coming together. We will both be at Team 24. What we're going to be doing there is still a little bit up in the air. We're waiting on Atlassian to come to some decisions themselves. But when we are not there, we will be doing things.
I'm waiting for Sean to make up his mind. What are we doing? I got to talk to the boss. All right. Ed Gill highlight reels. Yeah. Okay, so that's the events. Let's segue. We got 20 minutes. Let's get to know our amazing guest here. We already got to know a little bit about him and his. We're doing it. Sorry. I am horrible. I cannot read and talk at the same time.
By the way, Bob for the win with the why is this conference different than all other conferences? I'm definitely going to lead with that somewhere in LinkedIn. Anybody who's not familiar with the Passover Seder, that's a real quiz whiz winner right there.
But you would think that Atlassian would have done their homework. Like,
no, because again, there's a minor. I'm not speaking on behalf of Jewish people everywhere, but like you can't provide programming for everybody that's always going to fit everybody's schedules. Yeah. And I'm a minority of a minority, within the Atlassian community, so it doesn't bother me whatsoever.
But I bet you have something to do with like. It's got to be with the Venetian, right? Like the availability of the Venetian. Mm-hmm. But you got to think they have these like 4 or 5 years out. Like they just can't be booking these like, okay, we're coming back next year, maybe. You're not sure.
I believe that this is the last year of their contract with the Venetian. So
really?
Yeah. 2 years ago at the community leaders dinner, I sat next to Robert Chitwani, who was the CMO at the time. And they were really hoping that this year coming up, they were going to do it at the MSG Sphere. So I could see if they had a 3-year contract with the Venetian, which got pushed 1 year out because of the COVID cancellations. So this is the last year of the 3-year contract. I can really see them moving to either out of Vegas and back to either San Francisco or somewhere else, or within Vegas to a much bigger venue in terms of not the size, because the Venetian is just huge. I mean, like, Alex, how many steps do you do a day at the Venetian? Like 20,000 steps,
comment.
Right?
No comment.
Yeah, we can get Rodney a wheelchair and wheel him around. But like to do it like at the Sphere or something like that, that would probably be, have the Atlassian logo, moving around the Sphere for everyone to see.
Just the thought, Sean, Atlanta. I've
been saying it for years, and Atlassian does not listen to me. Probably I hurt their feelings.
I wouldn't mind going to I know that Australia, I think the Australia thing would be a little hard to do, but an event that big, it's got to be centralized. It's got to be like an LA or New York, right? Like somewhere with really good international airport support.
Again, it's got to be largest airport right here.
LAX over here.
Yeah, I've been through LAX. I'll take Atlanta.
Is it that much worse? Dude, I went to LAX one and only one time, and I was shaking when I got out of there. I had never seen so many people in my life.
And you've been to Atlanta too, haven't you?
Dude, I don't even want to talk about my Atlanta trip.
Very similar in terms of the traffic when you leave either of those airports, though. So,
Atlanta, I'll still take Atlanta traffic over the LAX traffic we had. But I think Andy, part of it's just I know it better.
I know, right? Yeah. So, Mr. Andy, since I never got a chance to interview you, let's start off with an origin story. Can you share the story of how you first got involved with the Atlassian ecosystem?
Yeah, sure.
How did we go from that to you sitting next to the CMO of Atlassian?
CMO and then the CEO. We'll talk about that too.
Nobody likes to show off, Andy.
Yeah. So how did I first get involved in the Atlassian ecosystem? So I previously worked for a company named CSU Industries, which no longer exists. It was bought by a company named Curvature, which no longer exists, which was bought by a company named Park Place Technologies, which does still exist. And back in the early 2010s, we were looking for centralized knowledge base, and we created our own wiki, Linux Apache server-based wiki. And it was great. The problem was, in order to contribute to it, you had to know wiki markup language, because it wasn't a what you see is what you get editor like you have on Wikipedia. And although there were a few dedicated people within the organization that were contributing to it, it didn't grow at the rate that it needed to. And we went and we were looking, also the admin internally, which was almost like a volunteer job on his part, which aren't we all, in terms of when we become admins, didn't want to deal with administrating this Red Hat Linux server anymore. And we needed to move it off of there. So we went and we looked at a couple different alternatives, and for some reason we wound up on Basecamp for like 3 months, and I have no idea why. And I don't even know if anybody still uses Basecamp, but it's certainly not a knowledge base platform, project management maybe, but not knowledge base. Then we found Confluence, and in 2011 we installed Confluence Server in our organization, and it completely changed the face of our organization. I had dream team that worked along with me of collaborators. Jake Lawson, who I'll call out, who is currently a service delivery manager at XSI International. He was my hand man, my partner in crime, helping to take all that content from the wiki and put it into Confluence, set up the spaces, the pages. We had a technical writer, Diana Buckner, who now works at Cisco, who came on a little bit later and helped us to really make that content beautiful. And we went from a team of hoarders, like a really highly technical group of people that hoarded documentation. Like everyone had documents in their My Documents folders, but weren't sharing them. And there were tons of people going out there and Googling it to try and find it when like the guy next to them had it. And we took the platform and we deduplicated everybody's My Documents folders. And we took all the documents that appeared across and we dumped them into Confluence, created a library there. And now everybody had access to it. And people weren't Googling for it or asking for it. Everybody had it. And what we thought was going to happen was that there was going to be a revolt because me owning the documentation for an HP EVA 8100 controller made me the HP 8100 EVA controller specialist and not you, right? And what happened was everyone started to contribute. Anytime they downloaded a document, they put it there. Anytime that they had any information about a product, a service, they were creating pages. And it just blew up. And we were able to integrate into our CRM. So anytime somebody had a ticket on an HP DL380 G5, they would just click that the link in the CRM, and it would open up within the CRM the page from Confluence server with all that information. And I really saw the power of how it enabled a team to break past its natural boundaries and become cohesive and collaborative, and just fell in love with the whole idea and have been pursuing it ever since.
You sure you don't work for Atlassian?
No, not been paid $1 by Atlassian for anything.
You kind of sound like Jens, right? Like who was like employee number 13. Did he started off on Confluence, right? Like he was one of the creators.
Yeah, he was originally a Confluence dev.
Yeah. So man, he's gonna hate me if he finds out that I don't remember these things. My memory is the worst. Jens, I'm sorry. Like I know there was you and Confluence and Jira and Atlassian, but don't ask me for details. But that's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool origin story, very similar to a lot of us who started many years ago. And it's always interesting I always find it interesting to hear those origin stories, because Atlassian, what it is today, I would say is drastically different than what it was back then. And I think new people coming in, they're finding Atlassian through like things like the Jira Life and Monday Coffee and all these others shows that are available, but they have to use it for work, but it's already established. I was on a team that when I brought it up, like I was on a team that was using it for the first time and rolling it out for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I think not a lot of companies have that privilege anymore, right? A lot of companies are already using it. And so you just inherit it, but it's kind of cool to have been there at the beginning to roll this stuff out.
I mean, when Alex, you started, I started, Andy started, you didn't set out to be
writing blogs for future trivia.
No, questions. I mean, when we started actually doing the Atlassian work, working on Atlassian systems, that's not something you set out to do. That's something you just kind of fell into. And that's true for a lot of us. But now I'm seeing people who are actually going to school with the intention of learning to use these tools and administer these tools for companies. And that change alone over the past 10 years has been mind-blowing. Again, it's not what most of us set out to be.
I was going to say the $1 billion question is going to be what happens next? Like what replaces Jira and Confluence?
AI.
I know. I got an AI series that I'm doing on my YouTube channel. So, other than that, I always hate these because I'm always thinking about the question and never about the words that came out of your mouth.
You could replay it on half speed.
Give me 5 minutes while I replay the answer to my last question. Is there a specific moment in your career within the Atlassian ecosystem that you consider to be the turning point or defining experience? What did you learn from it?
So two, I would say. One is that, like I said, just seeing how it mobilized an organization of people that were, predominantly hoarders and became contributors and collaborators, and really saw the power of unleashing the potential of an organization, which I guess is Atlassian's mantra. That's one. And so we were on server back then, and then I left that company in 2016 and came to Fidelity Payment Services as the COO, and we when I came in, we didn't have a centralized knowledge base. People were using everything under the sun, whether it was like looking at your email, OneNote, Evernote, whatever, put note at the end and it was being used. And it took a little while, but we finally got the organization onto Confluence Cloud. So that was the next pivotal point, which was that starting an organization at its origin point with cloud, as opposed to having to deal with a migration from server, right? So I immediately knew what the limitations were when we went to cloud in 2018, because I was so used to server. But having started on cloud, I've avoided almost every CV that's come out since 2018, and being able to be specialized on cloud means that I could be more helpful within the ecosystem in terms of knowledge management and answering questions and helping people out.
Perfect. Awesome. Mr. Rodney, over to you.
All right. So we talked about how you got started. Let's talk about community leaders. We are desperately trying to get Alex to become one.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how you went from that to sitting next to the CEO and CMO.
Well, I mean, I can answer that question. That question is, there's two different answers. One is, I don't know why I wound up being sat next to Robert at my first community leaders dinner. I thought that was just because we had very similar dietary standards, because I'm kosher only and he was vegan. And I figured they just put us next to each other because we weren't going to be eating much at the dinner. So it was a liquid dinner for me that night. I think 4 Coronas was basically what I consumed at the dinner. But that was nice, to sit next to Robert. So I don't know why I got there. I'll tell why I wound up next to Mike Cannon-Brooks at the end. But how did I become a community leader is a very interesting story. Being a Confluence geek and loving Confluence, I'm always looking for what's coming up next, looking at the roadmap. And one day I happened to be on YouTube and saw a video, which happened to be a Product Insider video. So Product Insider is an actual internal for community leaders only, initiative that was launched to bring community leaders up to speed on what's about to be launched, so they can get familiar with it and be able to help in the community once it goes, either beta, general availability, whatever it may be. And it's a deep dive, usually by the engineers that were the ones that, and the marketing team that developed that product or service within Atlassian, whether it be selling in Jira or in Confluence. And I wrote a comment on the video that, I wish I had known about this, because I would have for sure joined this live. And a day later, I get an email from Mandy Ross, who used to be at Atlassian, and asking me if she minded if I took down my comment, because they realized that was not supposed to be posted in the public YouTube channel. It's supposed to just be in the private YouTube channel, because it was not something that was intended for a general audience. And I said, no problem. Don't worry about it. Yeah, go ahead, take it down. And she said to me, but if you want to join Product Insiders, if you're a community leader, you could join it. And I said to her, I don't know enough to be a community leader. I'm not certified, right? So the same problems Alex has, my certifications. And she said to me, well, if you become a community leader, you get, certifications comped and free study and those types of things.
All right, hold up. Damn, this whole time I could have saved $100.
So I said, maybe I'll look into it. And did we lose Rodney's audio?
He's double.
Got it. But no, that's the cheap one, Alex. The certs get more expensive.
Well, let's see if you guys make me a community leader by the time I got to buy the expensive ones.
So I enrolled and I got approved. And Erica Moss, who was, before Caroline, the U.S. community leader or community manager, brought me on board in January 22, excuse me. And it's been great ever since. And I've met people like Alex and Rodney and tons of others through the community. It gives me an outlet for sharing the passion that I have for the Atlassian products and ethos. And I've gotten a lot of on my own personal, satisfaction and out of being able to contribute to a community. I wound up sitting next to Mike Cannon-Brooks at the leader dinner this year. He was sitting at the end of the table, and then next to him were Sajid and myself. And Sajid's posted the picture many times to LinkedIn. Probably find it and post it up there. But and I was seething when I sat down, because I knew that Stephanie Grice and Cassie Mays, who are the leadership of the community, from Atlassian side worked on the seating chart. Like, this is not just general seating. Like, you
randomly.
like, why did you put me here? Like, I just want to be. I'm the type of guy. Alex, how do we meet? I was off in the corner, like just doing my own thing, and you came over. Like, that's how you normally am. And like, oh, I'm going to be sitting next to them the whole night, and I found out why later on in the night when they did the awards, which is my most meaningful moment as a community leader to date, which I was announced as the Leader's Choice Award, which was voted by the community leaders for the community leader of the Leader's Choice Award, and they had sat Sajit and myself there because Sajit had won an award for the chapter of the year, I believe. For the highest growth rate, and that's why we wound up there. But it was a fantastic conversation that we had with Mike, to be honest, learning what it's like to live in the outback in Australia and how he's raised his kids, and it was a very fulfilling moment for me, and very special moment for me. So, and I don't have that award here in my office, and I keep it in my home office because it's that special to me. So
Is that special? That's awesome. Yeah, no, I remember sitting next to you. And I remember seeing Mike walk across, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool to meet the CEO? And you're like, it's not that great. Whatever. I talk to CEOs every day.
Pants on one leg at a time, just like me and you.
But I was like starstruck, and I remember just spending 2-3 hours with you, just sitting there in between, watching every person passing. But yeah, so we are almost out of time, and we want to hit our last round here. So pull them up.
I got them ready. Andy, are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready for the quick Quizlet?
Okay, let me
situate yourself.
All right, first question. iOS or Android?
iOS.
All right, Alex will be happy to hear that.
I'm Apple Watch, Apple phone.
I don't see any of your questions, so Ronnie, you're doing them all.
All right, next question. I think you already answered this, but cloud or DC?
Cloud. Never been on DC. Never plan on being on DC.
Never want to be on DC.
And I've heard Alex's war stories about it, so it makes me even more worried about it.
It's not that bad. You just need to be a sysadmin.
Yeah, a skill that I don't want to have.
No one wants to have. It's a curse. All right, so next one, Andy. The sugary carbonated drink, is it a soda or is it a pop?
Soda.
You say that like it's not a debate.
No debate. First of all, I'm in New York. You live in the town that basically created the sugary carbonated drink, and being Coca-Cola, and that is a soda. Pop.
So it's a bonus question:
like
Pepsi or Coca-Cola?
If you grew up in the 1850s.
So Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Good answer.
People can actually taste the difference. It tastes the same to me, but
no, it doesn't.
It does.
No, it does not. We'll leave this for another episode. Okay, next one, Andy. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Not even a debate. Star Wars. Let me tell you quickly. I know we're going to run out of time here. The biggest problem I had as a child is that we had recorded Star Wars off of Showtime. Okay, we had Star Wars, we had Empire Strikes Back, and we had Return of the Jedi. But we had recorded on an EP tape the Return of the Jedi first and Empire Strikes Back second. So when we would watch all three in a row, which happened about 150 times as a child, we would watch Star Wars. That was recorded on one tape, take it out. Then we would have to fast forward. We'd have to we would be at Empire Strikes Back because we had last watched Return of the Jedi. Then we'd have to rewind all the way from the end of Empire Strikes Back to watch Return of the Jedi. So Star Wars all the way for the win, not even a contest. Although my older brother will probably say Star Trek, which is one of the reasons why we don't have such a great relationship.
It will tear a family apart. It will.
And I apparently will tear the chat apart. I started a revolution over there. Like Chris Rogers, Pepsi Max versus Coke Zero, better than Diet Pepsi, greater than Diet Coke.
Okay.
Chris has his priorities straight in life.
I mean, as long as he knows. All right, so the last one, Andy. Is a Pop-Tart a ravioli or a dumpling?
the hell? I never even heard of this
That
question.
would be a question that I've never even pondered in my life. Is it a ravioli or is it a dumpling? It is a ravioli. It is not. Dumplings have to be deep fried to properly be dumplings. Ravioli does not have to be. It has to just be something with sauce inside a baked shell. So ravioli all the way. I'll have to Google that afterwards to see if I was right. I don't know if there is a right
I'm pretty
answer.
sure you're right because it seemed very legit to me. Your confidence is just.
I mean, I'd call it a strudel, but that's
But you
me.
didn't give me that as an option.
Of course not. It has to be controversial.
Well, thank you very much, Andy, for coming on, for taking time. I know this was probably taking you a little bit out of your element. Thank you to your family for joining us. Oh my God, look at that.
We got
You wait till the end to show.
you gotta be on Confluence. Where am I? Here am I. Confluence, but underneath, what's supporting it all is the Jira.
It's the Jira Life, yeah. Maybe it's time for you to start the Confluence Life. Do you own that URL, Rodney?
I do not. I also do not own the Confluence guy.
You should probably buy both.
I've got a full-time job, guys. I can't become the Confluence guy. I'll leave it up to you.
That is, I will say, being a Jira guy is a full-time job on its own.
It is indeed.
Hence
Jimmy
the
wants to
reason
know what a
for some
pop
life
tart
changes
is.
you made back in 2023.
Do you know? So Jimmy's having a crisis moment like I had at Team 23. I know we're completely out of time, but hopefully you guys can bear with me for 1 minute. So Chris Cook introduces me to the adaptivist group, right? And they're all like European. And so they're like, where do you live, Alex? And I, being like the funny, coy guy that I am, I was like, I live in San Diego for the Eggos, for the breakfast. And they're like, what's an Eggo? It does not exist outside the U.S. So, but Pop-Tart, I'm assuming, doesn't exist outside the U.S. either.
I will say,
just WhatsApped me that it's neither, because ravioli and dumpling are both boiled and Pop-Tarts are baked. And when it comes to anything with cooking, I will defer to my wife 1,000%, because if it weren't for her, I would spend my life eating cookies out of a box, and that's it. So she knows the truth has been revealed by my wife. It is neither. So I guess it would be.
We will still keep asking it because it is fun to see people panic.
It would have gotten me. Chris is Canadian, and he grew up with both Pop-Tarts and Eggos. So
I go my ego.
All right. So next week's episode, we're gonna have Rena Neer. She's the CEO of Radby, and it's gonna be a fun interview. And we're gonna get to learn about a whole new person who most of you probably haven't not heard about. So make sure you tune back in next week, as we will be exploring the wonderful life of Rena.
Rena is super excited about this. She is already posting about it. She is already emailing us. Andy was ahead of the game when he emailed us on Friday. Rena emailed us 2 weeks ahead.
I was going to say
Friday.
she probably got a hold of me last year. We've been prepping since last year. And it is OKR season. So just to give you guys all a teaser, they make OKRs easy. And so since it is the beginning of the year, I think it'll be an appropriate conversation to be talking about your goals, business goals, and objectives, and setting up your OKRs and tracking all that stuff in Jira. So we're really looking forward to that. Great question, Matt. So since she is in CET, we will not be streaming at our normal time. And so it's going to happen at 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern, as we are going to be accommodating her time zone.
Right. Sean, Bob, you heard that right.
Going to be out for an hour. All right. Oh, we got a new person in the Jira Life here. So I only recently came across TJL as a Jira guru. I am happy to have found my clan. Welcome, Neil on the iPhone. And we're team iPhone here, except for Rodney, because he doesn't know any better. This is the first time I managed to catch the live stream. So thank you, Andy. And of course, thank you. Thank you for being here. Fellow new Jira amigo. All right. So we really do got to finish this up so that Mr. Andy can get on his road trip home. So with that said, hit it with the outro.
All right. Well, we want to thank Andy, our online Andy Gladstone, for joining us today. Andy, why don't you tell us where people can find you online?
Oh, I mean, I'm not really a social media guy at all. You can find me online on LinkedIn. That's about it. I use Twitter the way that you used to use RSS feeds. I just need some information, so I subscribe to the Twitter account, and that's it. So Sorry, everybody. Not going to be entertained by me anywhere else.
That works for me. Well, obviously, Atlassian community as well. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Ronnie, the Jira Guy Nissen. You can find Alex on YouTube at 8 Tech Tutorials. He's been busy posting. God, what have you posted about this week?
I've been moving. I haven't had time to post anything.
I still see your stuff come up, so you have a good decent backlog.
I found a loophole on how to get Jira for free, like all the features for free, and I've been exploiting that loophole. And I posted something on, I don't remember what the other one was. I think it was databases or something. I don't know.
Yep. Well, you can find my blog at thejiraguy.com as always. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lena Ortiz. You can catch us as record podcasts live every Thursday, normally 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Again, we are at special time next week on YouTube at the Jira Life. Be sure to join us in the Jira Amigos and Peanut Gallery to ask questions, add your comments, tell us what you're up to, and argue about the nature of ravioli. If you can't join us live, definitely catch the replay on YouTube. While you're at it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell. If you can also find us as a podcast on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you think this podcast deserves a rating, it would be much appreciated as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life chose us.